So welcome. So if you are tuning into the recording, we are right now going over why we're here, who we are, what we're hoping to get out of this workshop. And also, if you didn't already, go ahead and grab a journal because we're going to do some journaling today. And something that just came up in some of the shares that we had about our why, about why we're here, is to gain confidence in our handstand and to gain courage in our handstand. And Linda was saying that she wants to focus on the goal. She wants to get really clear on what her goals are and then stay focused on them and have motivation towards her goal. And so what we're focusing on is what we're doing today is basically getting our head in the game so that we can be super prepared to take on any goal that we have and trust yourself to achieve any goal that you set. And I see that Christine is here now. Hi, is it Chris or who just popped in? Who is that? For some reason, it's not showing me your name, but if you just popped in, feel free to share why you are here.
Hi there. I'm not sure if you're talking about me. I see there's an
yes, Kirsten. Yes,
I'm Kirsten. Yeah, hi there.
Yeah, it wasn't showing me your name, and I was like, oh,
that's so funny.
I tell this person
it's them. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry I was late. If you might hear in the background, I have a little toddler who is not napping today for some reason. So I'm sorry I'm a little late. But
that's okay. No worries.
I'm here because I love that you're connecting, like you're focusing both on handstands and self-empowerment specifically. I mean, I've done lots of like my own reading and that on self-empowerment, and I, of course, have that sort of thing in the background when I'm practicing handstands. But I love the opportunity to have a conversation about both of those things connected at one time. So I love that you're doing that, and I'm just hoping that it will help me just move. I'm aware of what some of my like self-limiting beliefs are with handstands, but I'm hoping this will help me like move through that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll help you too, and I think it can. And it's so just to be clear, we're not actually going to be doing handstands today, and part of the reason for that is that mindset is so important, and I really wanted to take time because you can't really rush this process. So I really wanted to take time. Oftentimes when people show up to a handstand workshop, they're like, oh, I just want to like do the handstands. Let's skip the mindset stuff. But then they run into roadblocks and their mindset totally shuts them down and they end up getting really frustrated. They end up getting really discouraged and maybe even give up on their handstand altogether because they didn't focus on how they were treating themselves in their handstand mindset. And so I'm here today to help you have a really, really long, sustainable handstand journey where you take action towards your goals and also take action on things not just handstand related. And I kind of use the handstand as like a metaphor for anything that's challenging in your life, anything that's like scary and challenging. And the handstand is just like one example of that. And the handstand just happens to be my area of expertise where I can teach you that. But honestly, this applies to many, many areas of our lives. And so like even little things like doing this presentation is a little bit scary for me, but I really, really want to make an impact on the people, on you all. And so I'm doing it anyway. And as the more that I do workshops like these and the more that I lead things like these and feel the fear and do it anyway and take action, that's what inspires confidence. So courage plus action equals confidence. So we already went into why you are here. And just to give a little summary, since we kind of, since I started the recording a little bit late, some of you are here because you want courage. Some of you are here because you want motivation. Some of you are here because you want to focus on your goals. You want to get really clear on what your goals are, and you want to overcome any mental obstacles that are in the way of you achieving your goals. So I just want to give a little introduction to who I am for a moment. If you don't already know me, if you haven't met me in person, I know a lot of the people that I work with online are people that I knew before COVID, and now I'm kind of expanding my reach into new faces of people I've never met in real life before. So I just want to give a little introduction to who I am. I am a handstand trainer and self-empowerment coach, and I've been teaching yoga for 12 years. I'm a level 2 acro yoga teacher and an aerial instructor and a rock climber and a founder of this handstand empowerment business. And I actually just realized I'm wearing the same shirt in right now. That was totally unintentional. I'm wearing the exact same shirt that I was in this photo. That's really funny. Totally unintentional. And by the way, I spent a kind of embarrassing amount of time on these slides, but I hope you all like them. So that is who I am. And I'm really excited to get to know you all more, especially over the course of this workshop. We're going to be doing some sharing, some journaling, some deeper dive into how we treat ourselves in our headspace, and how and the self-limiting beliefs that come up, and how we shut ourselves down from our goals before we even try to achieve them. So let's move on. So why is mindset important? I would love to hear a share of why you think this is important. Who would like to for some reason I can't see everybody's face when I'm in screen sharing mode, but feel free, if you're like itching to answer this question, go ahead and share why do you think mindset is important, or if you don't want to say it out loud, you can write it in the chat. Why do you think mindset is important? And feel free to blow up the chat, by the way, like write in the chat box as much as you want. Please utilize it, and it'll be an easy way for me to stay engaged and communicative with you.
Well, I think mindset is important because that's where everything, like, it happens in your mind before it happens in your body. You know, like, even if we're not conscious of that, I mean, even so, using it's handstand as an idea, right? Like, if somebody asks you if you want to do a handstand class, I feel like whether you're aware of it or not, like, you take a second and imagine yourself doing a handstand. Like, there's some part of your brain that is like processing, like, how do I fit with handstands? Like, have I done one before? That, like, so I feel like it's all happening there first. So whether you're picturing it and it's going well, or you're picturing it and it's going poorly, it's happening, and you're setting your body up for what's going to happen based on how it goes in your mind.
Right, totally. Yeah. And your mind has so much power. It's really incredible because if you've decided that you can't do a handstand, then guess what? You can't do a handstand. And if you decided that you can someday do a handstand and you take action towards that, then guess what? You're way more likely to be able to do a handstand someday. And who resonates with this? Who's like, I'm on board with this and I understand why mindset is so important? Raise your hand. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, my mom said mindset sets the stage for your hopes and dreams. And Linda said handstand is a long-term goal. It's going to take me a while. So the mindset is helping me get there and keep on focus. I love that. Amazing. So something that I want to share is that mindset work is not like, it's not the kind of thing where you like take a pill and all of a sudden your problems are fixed. It's one of those things where your mindset is a muscle that you can flex. And it's just like, you know how you, like, if you do core work once, do you think your core is going to be stronger a year from now? If you do core work once? No, right? And so it's the same thing for your mindset. If you take on this mindset today and you're like, wow, I got like a new mindset, but you like never think about it ever again, chances are like it's not actually going to stick, because your mind is a muscle and you have to flex it in order to make progress. So these mindset pieces are what we're going to be working on today. Is like, it's all well and good if you do it today, but if you like never think about it again, basically what I'm saying is I would love for you to think of the, even if you've done mindset work with me before in the past, think of this as like an opportunity to flex your mindset muscle. And I know some of you did some of the off the wall training, or some of you may have seen some of the off the wall training in the Facebook group, and we do some mindset work there. And you're here today because I think this is so important to keep flexing that muscle. And Tony Robbins says this, and he says this mostly about business, but I actually think business and handstands kind of go hand in hand. But he says 80% of your success is in your head, and the other 20% is skill. So if we think of our handstand training as more mindset work than actual skill, then we really take on the mindset that we're doing today, then you are way more likely to have long-term success in your handstand practice than if you just focus on technique and don't focus on how you treat yourself or how you think about your handstand practice. By the way, can everybody see the screen okay? I'm kind of like, I've got like the chat box in one place and like your video in another place, and it's not blocking the screen at all, is it? Okay, cool. Just wanted to double check. All right, so moving on. Whoops, I went past one. So this is, and actually, you know what? I kind of want to do this next slide first. I'm switching the order of these two slides. I want to invite you to come at this training today with the mindset of how can this work for me? So rather than, so it's the same thing as like, if you've decided that you can't do a handstand, then chances are you can't do a handstand. But if you've decided that maybe this mindset stuff can work for you, even if you can't figure out exactly how immediately, and even if it doesn't feel like it's coming naturally to you, instead of just deciding that this won't work for you, I would love for you to try on today the question, how can this work for me? Rather than just deciding that it won't. Because if you decide that it won't work for you, then it won't. Does everybody agree to take on the mindset of how can this work for me today? Yeah, awesome. I'm seeing some thumbs up and nods. Amazing. So I'm actually going to go back to this other slide, which is the phrase can't is an illusion. And obviously, if you're like, oh, I can't fly, like obviously that's true. Like, you know, we're talking about things that are within the realm of possibility here, which handstands are within the realm of possibility. Try on for size this phrase, the only thing in my way is that I haven't been choosing it. So think about something in your life that you've been wanting to create, whether it's your handstand practice, or maybe it's starting a new career, or maybe it's moving to that dream home that you have been wanting, or maybe it's, I'm trying to think of other examples. Feel free to put other examples of things that you want to accomplish in your life in the chat box. And think about that example of what do you want to create in your life that you've kind of just decided that you can't. And try on thinking that the only thing in my way is that I haven't been choosing it. And imagine that you could choose it and make it happen. And I would love to hear in the chat box, what is that like for you? Is there any resistance to that? Is there any part of you that's like, oh, but like, there's XYZ reasons why I can't. Or maybe you're like, oh, this is helpful, and it's like, this is inspiring, and this is motivating me to maybe consider the possibility that I can. I'd love to hear in the chat box, share a little bit of, even if it's just a feeling word, what is a feeling word that goes along with trying on this new phrase? My mom said it's actually happening. And I think my mom has been wanting to present her art in an art show for a really long time. And here she is at the art show presenting her art, which is amazing. So awesome. Go ahead and write in the chat box if you have a feeling word that comes up for you when you try on the phrase, The only thing in my way is that I haven't been choosing it. And Kirsten said, choosing it is a reminder that it is possible. It feels like movement in the right direction. Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna wait for a couple more comments in the chat to come in, and then we'll move on. What does it feel like in your body when you think about choosing the thing that you've decided that you can't do? And Sarah said, choosing is a positive move forward. And Linda said, I like the idea that it's mine to choose. I love that. And even if you take away one thing from this training, it's the idea that oftentimes we have just decided that we can't. And if we could just switch that one little mindset piece, if we could choose the thing that we think we can't do every single day, what would your life be like? What would be the impact of that on your life? And go ahead and write that in the chat box. What would be the impact of choosing the things that you think you couldn't do? And even if they don't happen immediately, even if the thing that you choose that you think you can't do happens a year from now or 10 years from now, but imagine that you could continue to choose it and continue to work towards it and eventually achieve it one day. What would be the impact of that in your life? Go ahead and write that in the chat box. Sarah said, feeling empowered and free. Christine said, powerful and happy. My mom said, be a supporter instead of a dependent. And again, what does it feel like in your body to imagine the possibility of choosing the things that you think you can't have? And Christine said, these things will happen one day and come to light, and I will feel so strong and in control of my life. And Kristen said, in my body feels like a happy tingle in my belly. I love that. Yeah, when I think of these things, I also get that same kind of little, like that little spark of possibility and excitement about it, which isn't that energy so much more motivating than just like deciding that you can't and being like, oh, well, I'm just never going to try because I just can't. It's way less exciting. It's so much more motivating and inspiring to have that like that threat of possibility almost. And Sarah said, feeling in control of myself, my emotions, and my body. So I want to take a little bit of time to now vision. So now that we've kind of come to this idea that we can create what you want to create in your life that you don't currently have, I would love to take about 10 minutes or so of journaling time. So go ahead and pull out a journal or a piece of paper, or if you want to open up a Google Doc on your computer, or if you feel excited to write these things in the chat box, feel free to write them in the chat box. And this is something that I don't want to rush this. Again, mindset work is not something that you can rush, not something that you can necessarily just like snap your fingers and all of a sudden it's different or better. We'll take 10 minutes or so to answer these questions or answer these prompts of, I want to wake up feeling blank. And if you were in Balance Academy, I know Linda, you've already answered these questions, and also my mom has already answered these questions. But again, remember that your mindset is a muscle that you can flex, or that needs to be flexed. So even though you did this exercise or answered these questions 6 months from now, I invite you to re-journal these questions often so that you can re-inspire you to create the life that you want to have all the time. I want to wake up feeling blank. My day looks like blank. How do you relate to the challenges that you face in your life? Where are you living? What do you spend your days doing? Who are you spending your time with? How do your friends see you? What empowered reality can you imagine creating for yourself? Another 8 minutes or so on that. And if there's any resistance coming up around these questions, be nice to yourself. It's okay. And it's even honestly normal to feel resistance around these questions. And it's also even normal to not even have answers to these questions yet. And I also want to invite you to tune in again to the sensations in your body that you feel when you're answering these questions. Does your jaw tighten? Do your shoulders lift up? Does your belly feel tight? And there's no right or wrong experience. Another 3 minutes or so.
Lana,
Yeah.
I can't really understand the third point. If you can explain it to me.
How do you relate to the challenges that you face?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, when something is challenging for you, how do you react? Do you get frustrated when it's challenging? Do you like light up and get excited by the challenge? Do you decide that it's too hard and then give up easily, or are you like determined to continue to face the challenge, or whatever however you relate to that challenge?
Okay, and the last point.
Yeah. So what empowered reality can you imagine creating for yourself?
Yeah.
So that could be, that question is a little bit more of like a broader kind of question, of like, do I, like, for example, an empowered reality that I thought of for myself last year. So last year the pandemic hit and all of my jobs were like, I lost all of my jobs. And I asked myself this question: what empowered reality can I imagine creating for myself? And rather than just kind of like getting any XYZ job that I could find, I was like, what if I could create an online handstand business? Like, what if I could create that? What if I became the type of person that like saw a challenging situation, and instead of just deciding that like that was my life now, creating something new out of it. So how could you imagine like a reality in which you are empowered, and what would that look like?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And if a couple of you, once we kind of wrap this up, if a couple of you feel inspired to share your answers, I think it could be interesting and uplifting for us to hear each other's answers. And not everybody has to share, but if we want to just take a couple of shares. And does anybody need more, maybe like 2 more minutes? Raise your hand if you need like 2 more minutes. Okay, cool. Sarah and Kristen. Okay, great. Perfect. All right. Is there anybody who is feeling inspired to share their answers? And just know that this is a judgment-free zone. So anything that you share will be held with love and care, and can we all agree that we are all in here to uplift each other and support each other in our highest goals and dreams and visions? Yeah, awesome. So with that in mind, with the idea of like being really supported and held by this group and this container, who would like to kind of like share what your vision is for 6 months from now? Yeah, Sarah, go for it. You're muted, actually. Would you unmute? Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes. So shall I go through each question and the answers?
What was that?
Should I go through each question and the answers?
Sure. Yeah, you can do that, or you can give like an overall summary. It's up to you, whichever you feel more comfortable with.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm in the UK, so we've probably had slightly different experiences with the lockdown and COVID, etc.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
we're just coming out of our third lockdown. So we've had since January, we've had really not much we could do at all. So we've not really been able to travel anywhere. We've not supposed to meet people. You know, you could recently meet up to 6 people, but that was only outdoors. You know, so it's been very lonely.
Yeah.
So also, like I know you just said about your work stopped. I do, my business is property, and I normally interact with my tenants, and I'm going and sort of like buying property, seeing estate agents, meeting with contractors, things like that, and all that stopped for me because of the situation. So I felt, even though I live with my husband, I felt very lonely because he's a teacher, so he's been going to work and he still had a purpose. So for me, my vision is sort of feeling purposeful again, because I felt like I haven't had any purpose. So I want to wake up feeling happy and purposeful and focused. Also, I mean, healthy and strong and empowered, because I've continued to exercise. I mean, we exercise every day. We have a gym in our garage, which has been really good because the gym's closed. So, you know, that's been so good. But I think I sort of lost my way a little bit with what my focus is on my, you know, my handstands and my other exercise. So I think focus is a real thing for me, and purpose. That's and I just thought that the last question, I was thinking, you know, to focus on new challenges and to be more proactive maybe is what I need to do, because I suppose there are some things I can do. Like one of my hobbies as well is sewing. And the first lockdown, we struggled with the PPI, the equipment for nurses and doctors. And so I sewed, I gave up my time. For 7 weeks, I sewed the stuff that they wear. I sewed the tops and the trousers. And that gave me purpose then. But, you know, I haven't since then really been able to focus much on even my sewing. I just think my mind's just sort of not been able to focus on anything. So focus and purpose, and maybe just trying to visualize that for myself, where I'm going.
Yeah. Wow. Those are huge. I want to write those words down. Focus, purpose. Yeah, totally. I hear that. Yeah. And who else wants that for Sarah? Who wants Sarah to have more focus and purpose? And yeah, we want that for you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And also, it's really brave to share that. I think that's like a vulnerable thing to share, that you're like not feeling connected to your purpose and you're not feeling focused. And thank you for sharing that.
I also think because like normally I'm a focused person, and I'm strong. None of my friends really realized I was feeling like that, you know, and because I've not had contact with people, I've seen the occasional friend for a walk or something like that, but because we're not supposed to travel, it's being tricky. So yeah, the way that people see me is maybe not how I am at the moment, you know. So how I want my friends to see me, I want them to see me as strong and happy and fortunate, but also I want them maybe to see that I am vulnerable at the same time.
What at the same time?
Yeah, because vulnerable.
Comfortable, you said?
Vulnerable.
Oh, vulnerable. Yeah, totally. Like strong. Honestly, I think vulnerability is a strength. So I definitely value that as a part of like being a strong person, is also being willing to face the things that are uncomfortable and scary. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Let's take one more share. Who else would like to share their vision for 6 months from now? Yeah, we got both of you raise your hand at the same time.
Kristen, please go. No, please, you go.
Okay, I don't want to speak though, because I just spoke before. Are you sure you don't want to go? No, okay. All right. So my vision is the little background to understand. So I in the past 3 years had a baby, moved across country. That was at the same time, a couple weeks before I had a baby, moved across country, and stopped working, decided to stay at home with my son, which, you know, these were all wonderful things. And it's been hard, especially, and like the lockdown in particular made it really tricky. I feel like when I moved here, I was doing some great acro. I was connected with this community that like really inspired me, and I was able to even practice and do things I'd never done before, all the way through my pregnancy. So when I had my son, I was feeling like so empowered, and like I was able to do so much more than I ever thought I could in my life. And I had done some really cool things at work before I left and all of that. And then I've moved to a place where I've not been able to connect with an acro community, and I feel like I became like just a housewife, which I have lots of like feelings about that being like this very loaded concept anyway, that I think staying at home can be something that I just don't think it's very fairly respected. And I feel like I've become a lot of these, like the negative side of those stereotypes in a lot of ways, and I'm not feeling like myself and not like meeting people that that I feel like I can lift up and that lift me up and all of that. So my vision is to really like reconnect with what that energy and inspiration was, and to be able to bring that into my relationships with my family and with people, and to be meeting like new people and feeling able to be vulnerable in new friendships. Yeah, that's really like the summary of it all.
Yeah. So like having that like community, and also like an identity that's different from just being like a housewife, like getting clear on like who you identify as, and and also wanting to feel respected and like be respected by your friends. And
to be able to like still find that space to keep challenging myself physically while I am you know, still like caring for this beautiful little human and, you know, making the time for both of those things, all of those things. There's a lot of different things in there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I also I'm kind of curious to ask you this last question too, of like what empowered reality can you imagine creating for yourself? Like what, like given all the responsibilities that you have, like what could you like how could you hold those things and also have an empowered relationship to it and create a new reality? Like what would that look like?
Yeah, so I wrote down a lot of things with that, and I think like the biggest, I wrote it down in like specific aspects of my life, like professional, for when I go back to that, and like making that networking and all of that. But like I think that the common thread running through all of that is just being able to get back to the mindset that I once had, which is like trying and falling down is wonderful.
Mhm.
I used to have that belief, and I feel like I have gotten to be like just too careful, like not and not celebrating myself enough. But I like beat myself up if I'm working on something and it doesn't work out or I get an injury. Like that's
Mhm.
a common one. I'm now in my mid 40s. I get injured a lot more than I used to, and it lasts a
Mm.
lot longer. And
Mhm.
I get so like disappointed because I'll get stoked. I'm on like a streak with my handstand practice or something, and then I'm maybe like working on something and like tweak my wrist, and I'm like, well, and then it's like 3 weeks of not doing anything,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I get all down on myself. So the common thread would just be like being maintaining that belief that it's all progress. It's everything
Mm.
you can learn from.
Totally. And like celebrating failure and
Yeah.
yeah, seeing failure as a way of moving forward
Right. Letting
rather than being
injury
discouraged.
really just be like rest and recuperation rather than it just being like
Halting your
a
progress.
step backward. And
Right.
I'm the worst with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I love that kind of like shift in perspective on injury as rest and failure as a way of moving forward. And Sarah said, thank you, Kristen. I feel the same about injuries too. It's so frustrating. Yeah. Cool. Thank you all for sharing. And I'm curious, Christine, if you want to also share, might as well, right?
Actually, it's it's more or less about the same thing. I'm feeling the same things, thinking about the same. So, but um, I I lost my dad in September, which was a huge
Sorry.
change. And yeah, so this really hit me hard. But I'm still in like a denial phase, but I'm trying everything. He was usually feeling very proud of me, and everything I really need to achieve now is because I think that he would have been very proud of this and that and this. And for after being a mom, my life changed. I'm not finding enough time for myself, and whenever I do something for myself, go work out and do anything for myself, I have this feeling of guilt that I left my son for a while and left my husband and all these stuff. And but I need to realize that my well-being is will reflect on them big time. So I need to take good care of myself, and taking care of my health, well-being, and being active in a good shape and everything will reflect on my son later on. Um, and yeah, I want to wake up, let me read this, feeling like there is nothing I can do, there is nothing I fear. My what empowered reality I can imagine is it's not in like work life or professional life, it's just being my son's best friend and a person that he looks up to. Yeah, through being healthy and you know.
Yeah, and being like a positive role model for your son in a way, somebody that he respects.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that facing challenges, I need to face my challenges in a totally different way that I'm doing now. Now I'm just always like demotivating myself or underestimating myself, fearing challenges. In 6 months time from now, I need to see myself excited about the challenges, facing them, being up to the challenge, looking forward to a different challenge. So yeah. This is in a nutshell.
Yeah. Awesome. And Sarah said, I'm sorry about your dad. This is a difficult time. And Kirsten said, I'm so sorry about your dad. Grief is such a process. Yeah.
It's this COVID thing. Yeah.
And I think it's really brave to like to feel grief and then be like, I'm gonna take a step forward, even though I'm feeling like so raw, you know. So I acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm feeling a lot of care for all of you right now. I think this is a really sweet group, and thank you all for being so brave and vulnerable today so far. And we're not even done yet. So this mindset shift of what if positive versus what if negative has been life-changing for me over the last year. And I'm going to explain what it is, and then I'll also I'll get a little bit more into it. But basically, the idea of what if positive versus what if negative is, let's use my handstand empowerment business, for example. I oftentimes would have said to myself, like, what if I start this business and it like goes really poorly and like, you know, doesn't get off the ground and it like just doesn't work. And so if I had lived in that what if negative possibility, I wouldn't have taken any action on my business because I would have been too afraid of the negative consequences. But what I did instead was I was like, what if I start like a handstand empowerment business and it goes really well? Like, what if it goes really well? What if it makes like a huge positive impact on like many people and is outstanding? And I decide, it's one of those things where I kind of like flip flop back and forth between both of them all the time. And even in the course of like 1 minute, I can be like, what if negative? And then like, actually, what if positive though? And then what if negative? And then actually, what if positive though? And so it's one of those things where, you know, even if you think a what if positive statement, the what if negative will oftentimes come in, because if anything, the what if negative is anxiety that's trying to keep you safe, right? Fear is designed to hold you back so that you don't do something that is potentially threatening for your survival. It's a survival thing, right? And so we can take a moment to thank our fear. Our fear is keeping us safe. Our fear and anxiety is doing a really good job of keeping us alive. And we've you know, it has done such a good job that we are here and alive right now. And it also holds us back from taking action on things that are scary, that aren't actually life-threatening. Does this concept make sense? So if we can spend as much time as we can in the what if positive possibility mentality, then it's so much easier to feel that kind of like, I think Kirsten was saying, that kind of like warm, tingly feeling in your belly where you're kind of like excited by the possibility of what you could create. And that little tingly excitement is what will drive you forward. And then the moment the what if negative comes in, all of a sudden you're like, oh, what if it doesn't go well? Or what if, you know, XYZ negative thing happens? Then all of a sudden you get like if you feel that energy, it's almost like this like closing, or at least how I feel, it feels like this like closing the front of my chest, and I just want to like watch Netflix and like not think about it, you know, and like not take any action on that thing that I think is scary. And not that watching Netflix is bad, like please watch all the Netflix you want. And also if you're watching so much Netflix that you're just not taking action on your goals, maybe that's something to reflect on. And so who has an example of a what if positive statement and what if negative statement that comes up for you on the regular in terms of like a goal that you want to achieve? And it could be handstand related, it could be life related, work related, relationship related. think, Sarah, you look like you're going to say something.
Yeah, I think for me with the fear of falling, the fear of falling is the fear of injury, not really the fear of falling, you know, but
right. Yeah.
I have fallen a couple of times now, trying to do like chest to wall and things like that. And we have sort of professional gym mats in our garage gym, and I haven't injured myself. So you know, what if I do fall? Well, you know, what if I don't? But also, what if you achieve? You know, sometimes I haven't fallen and I've managed to hold the handstand. You know, it's that what if you fall, but what if you fly? You know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and also, you know, falling and like getting injured is like a real fear. And I'm not trying to encourage anybody to just like throw yourself into something that you could potentially actually injure yourself doing. That's not what I'm saying to do, just to be clear. Just to be 100% clear, I'm not telling you to injure yourself. And if you're setting yourself up for a handstand in a way that's like, you know, like safely, and you're building the muscles that you need for the handstand, you're doing like handstand conditioning and you're preparing yourself for the skill. And if you're learning how to fall safely, then and fear is still holding you back, then I would say, what if you could feel the fear and do it anyway? What if you can like stick the handstand, even though it's a little bit scary? What if you can try and just do it? And that's the energy that we're going for. Yeah, that was a great example. Thank you, Sarah. And Christine, it looks like you were going to say something too.
No, actually it's not okay. It's not handstands related. It's life related, or usually in my job, I just keep on telling myself, what if I couldn't do what my manager asked me to do? And when I started to use this positive statement, it really changed my life. And I started to say, what if I can do it? I'll rock. I'll do a great job. So yeah, and I love this statement, and I started using it in my life.
I love that. Awesome. Amazing. Who's excited to take this on the daily, of changing your changing the fear to what if positive? Because really, what if negative is fear. That's in it's anxiety. And so if you feel that fear, you can be like, oh, is this me just living in the what if negative right now? And if that's the case, or like maybe there's actually something that you really like, that, you know, your fear is alerting you of something that you really shouldn't do. Like don't do a handstand at the edge of the cliff. Like that's actually dangerous. Unless you're like a master hand balancer and like, you know, you're not going to fall. But if it's a fear where you're looking at the consequences and you're like, you know what, actually, if I fail, it's not that bad. And what if I succeed? Like, what if I succeed? That would be so cool. So and feel free to even like write, if you want to like write this on a Post-it note and put it next to your bed, of like, what if positive? Or like, you can have a specific phrase, like, for example, Christine, like, what if I can do what my manager says? Or Sarah, what if I kick up and stick a handstand? You know, you can put that in a Post-it note next to your bed if you want. So another thing that I wanted to talk about was that your self-limiting beliefs are often just stories. They're stories that your subconscious has created because of some fear, because of some XYZ pattern from the way you were raised, or however, you know, anything that might have left an imprint on your psyche. And I'm not like a pro on neuropsychology, but I have read a lot about neuropsychology, and I think it's really fascinating to see the patterns that have been created from in your brain from the way that you were raised. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But if you could start to think of your self-limiting beliefs as just stories, and then decide whether or not you believe them, that's an empowering way to live. So, so who has an example of so when you're thinking about your goal, who has an example of like a self-limiting story that you have? And hi, Melissa, I see that you're here. Good to connect.
Hey, good to see you too.
Yeah.
Are we journaling right now?
Right now, we're answering the question of what is a self-limiting belief that you have that is a story that you can choose to believe or not. And you can write it down or you can share it out loud to the group. And I just asked if anybody wanted to share an example of a self-limiting belief that is just a story. Yeah, Kristen.
So one of the ones that I have in like the physical, like acro and like acro space is when I walk into a gym or training, whatever, with a workshop with other people. I feel like look at the people who are like the very, very best in the room, and they are both inspiring to me. And I like tell myself that like if we get paired up or something, I feel like when we get paired up, the belief I have is, oh, these poor people got stuck with me. Like they're so much better. And I'm sure that they're like, just wish they could get paired up with somebody else who is as good as them instead, so that they can keep getting better instead of like getting paired up with me.
Yeah. And that is just the story, and you don't actually know that for a fact, right? But something that like you've decided to create that story. And like, yeah, before we go on, let's take another example. What's another self-limiting belief that is a story?
I've got one.
Yeah, Melissa.
Okay, so I caught myself doing this a lot, especially when I got sick and I was disconnected from all my friends. I will tell myself a lot that like I have no friends, nobody likes me. It's so stupid, but like, and it's so not true. Like, because then when I catch up with my friends, it's like, why did I even think that? It's so weird, but I do it a lot. So it's nice to like think of it as like a story I can choose to believe or not.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And let's take one more example of a self-limiting belief that you have. And I can actually share my common one for me, which is that I am not good enough. That is basically like the common self-limiting belief that I have in any context where I'm trying to like, do something that feels really scary and outside of my comfort zone. Is my first thought is I'm not good enough. And in the last year or so, I've realized that that's my pattern, and I have actively chosen not to believe it, because it has held me back for the last decade, and it's been liberating to not believe it anymore. But it still comes back. Honestly, it still does. It's one of those things where your mindset is a muscle that needs to flex, that you need to continue to train and continue to practice. Otherwise, if you don't strengthen your core, if you don't do core work, your core will get weaker. So it's one of those things you have to continue to practice it in order for it to make progress. So I'm continuously choosing not to believe that story. So what I want to do, we already did this. What is the story that's coming up for you? So what I want to do now is change that story to the opposite and try it on. So what is the opposite of your story? So for example, for Melissa, the opposite of the story that you have no friends, nobody loves you, is you have a lot of friends and they all love the shit out of you. And I know that for a fact because they all told me how much they love you. At the last self-empowerment intensive we did, they were there and they told me. So I remember that. I can confirm. And for example, for Kirsten, maybe the opposite is like they're psyched to work with you. And so yeah, who else would like to change the story? Let's get a couple shares of the opposite of your story. I know I kind of like already did that for some of you, but yes, Sarah.
Yeah, so I did type it in the box, so I don't know if you saw it. One of my things is about not being flexible, like physically, because I've not got much flexibility in my hips, so I can't get really low in splits and things. And I do feel like that's sort of like a limiting effect with the handstands. So, you know, I'm not flexible enough, I'm not strong enough, but, you know, I am working on it. It's getting better. So, you know, I can be flexible enough, you know, and strong enough with the training.
Amazing. I love that. I love that so much. I think the next slide, yeah. So the new story that I would love for us to create. So this is kind of almost like a shifting of your identity in a way, is I can expand into my fullest potential because, and then fill in the blank of the opposite story of your self-limiting belief. So for example, for Sarah, it would be, I can expand into my fullest potential because I can get more flexible and stronger. And I am flexible and strong. And like, you can even speak it into existence as if it's already happened. I am flexible and strong. And so let's get a couple of shares. And if you want to write it in the chat box instead of speaking it out loud, that's also welcome. Again, feel free to blow up the chat box. Totally welcome that. And I'm just catching up with the chat box. Sorry about that. Kirsten had written earlier, what if I practice handstands daily for the next 6 months and then can hold my handstands for 30 seconds easily and I'm starting to work on my press? Hooray. Yeah, what if you do that? Amazing. And Linda said, we love you, Melissa. Feel free to write in the chat box, I can expand into my fullest potential because, and then fill in the blank of the opposite of your story. Who would like to share theirs? And there's also something really powerful about even saying it out loud, because there's something about speaking something and declaring something with your voice that has a lot of power to it, I think, or at least in my life, I have experienced that when I declare something and voice it, all of a sudden there's like almost like a charge in the air around it for me. Can anybody else relate to that? When you speak something into existence, it's like out there. Who would like to share theirs, your new reality?
I will go.
Yeah, Melissa.
I can expand into my fullest potential because I can remember that just because I don't see everyone that I love as much anymore, it doesn't mean the love isn't there. It doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
It picks up right where it left off, and I can remind myself that more regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. The love is still there. I love it. Let's take a couple more shares. Again, feel free to write it in the chat box. And Linda said, I'm choosing to hold a positive potential outcome for my romantic life instead of thinking too old and dating after being widowed is too hard. Yeah. So I can expand into my fullest potential because I can find a partner and I can have an amazing romantic life. And again, I know I mentioned this before when we were journaling earlier, but it's normal to say those things and then immediately be like, but like it's scary and that's like uncomfortable and like it's not possible. And all of those reactions are again just stories because we're so used to living in this kind of small place, right? We're so used to living within our comfort zone, and expanding outside the comfort zone is uncomfortable. And so who's feeling a little bit of that like growing discomfort right now? Yeah, okay, everybody is. Awesome, cool. And Sarah said, I can expand into my fullest potential because I can continue to work on my strength and flexibility. I love it. Cool. I want to hear like one more. Christine, would you like to share one? Did you already share one? Yeah.
I have so many things in my head right now. Maybe I can expand into my fullest potential because I'm a good mom. My students loves me as a yoga teacher, because I'll keep on working on my strength and flexibility.
I love it. And Kirsten said, I can expand into my fullest potential because I can see working with amazing athletes as the opportunity it is instead of assuming I'm dragging others down / holding them back as I'm learning. Awesome. And also from the experience of being an acro teacher, also Kirsten, I do know that I have learned so much about acro from working with people who don't know more than me. So it's serving them. And also I've become a better acro teacher from working with people that aren't, up to whatever level I'm at. So we can think of it that way, especially if those people want to be acro teachers one day, they get information from working with different bodies at different levels. So cool
Yeah,
stuff.
I love hearing that. Yeah, because that's the thing is like whenever I'm teaching anybody anything, like I love it. So I don't know why I assume that other people might not also enjoy that, but that's where my head goes.
Yeah, totally. And also, this might be a little bit weird to put it out there, but even if they do experience that, so what? Even if they want to work with somebody that's more like experienced, like so what? Like they'll survive, you'll survive, and it's okay. It's really okay. And most likely they don't feel that way. So so let's dive into again. So if you're kind of feeling that those like growing pains, this is normal, by the way. This is why I put this journaling exercise here, because I knew that this feeling was going to come up. If you're feeling that like, oh, but I still am doubting that this is even possible. Who's feeling that way? You're kind of like, oh, this is all well and good, but like, it's not going to work for me. I don't think this is going to happen. Like, it's like, whatever, like this is cool, but not like, I'm just not going to be able to do it. All these doubts might come up for you, and it is normal. It is completely normal. And I go through it all the time. And we're not necessarily immune to our self-limiting beliefs all the time. And so let's do another like maybe 5 minutes or so journaling on this kind of, so this is kind of like a little transition. These questions transition you out of the doubt and kind of like sell you on your vision in a way. So the questions are, what doubts come up when you think of your vision? And then acknowledge the doubt and see if you can choose not to believe it. So you can even rewrite, like write it again. It's one of those things where it's like sometimes it's like an affirmation that you have to say over and over again. I wrote this wrong, but when you're rereading what you wrote, see if you can try not to get sold on your own limiting belief. So if you see your self-limiting beliefs or your doubts and you write them down, notice if you kind of like, you write it down and you're like, oh, I know I'm supposed to kind of like transition out of this doubt, but I still believe it. I still believe this doubt. I still believe this self-limiting belief. And then see if you can love on your doubt and transform it into a new possibility. So what I mean by loving on your doubt is remember that fear keeps you safe. Remember that fear is what has kept us alive up until this point. And then journal on believing yourself to the point of delusion. What could it feel like to actually completely ignore those doubts and actually believe that you can? And then once you're sold on your ability to achieve your vision, what daily action could you take that is in alignment with your vision? So this is kind of like I know they're not like all questions, but it's kind of like a little bit of a journey of going from the doubts to not believing your doubt and loving on your doubt, transforming it into a new possibility, believing in yourself to the point of delusion, and then creating a new action plan that's in alignment with your new vision. So let's actually take 10 minutes to do this. And is everybody clear on what we're doing? I know it's not like easy questions to answer necessarily, but let's go through this journey of acknowledging your doubt, not believing it, love on it, transform it into a new possibility, believe in yourself to the point of delusion, and then create a daily action that you can take that's in alignment with it. And if you're having a hard time kind of like answering these or going through this journey, you could even ask yourself, like, what would it look like for me to love on my doubt? What would it look like for me to transform it into a new possibility? What would it look like for me to believe in myself to the point of delusion? And then what is my daily action steps that I can do that's in alignment with my vision? And the vision that we're talking about is the vision that we journaled on towards the beginning, where we talked about what do we want our life to look like 6 months from now? How do we want our friends to see us? Where do we want to be living? What do we want to be doing? How do you want to face your challenges? What empowered reality are you experiencing 6 months from now? take another 3 minutes or so. All right, who needs another minute? All right, cool. It seems like nobody said they needed another minute. So I would love to hear, you don't have to answer necessarily everything that you wrote down, but I would love to hear just kind of like a feeling or a response from this exercise, or what that was like for you, and then what your new action plan is. You'd like to share. What was that like for you? And we're a small group, so I'm totally fine with, if you've already spoken a bunch, like totally fine with you speaking again. No need to reserve.
I can go.
Yeah, Melissa.
Okay. I'm glad you said that about like not speaking too much.
Yeah.
Okay, so another self-limiting belief is just feeling like I'm not good at like my hobbies, like pole or contortion, handstands, whatever it is, or I'm not good enough. And then I said what doubts come up is like when I think of my vision and what it takes to get there is like I get too tired to commit some days and be consistent every day, or like thinking or other goals, like it won't be perfect, like thinking about buying a house or something, like that big fear of like, oh, it's just not going to be perfect, everything, like it's just this huge thing that comes up in everything, is that like perfectionism. And so what it would look like to love on that is like just remind myself it's okay to be human and imperfect, and like actually it's at least I notice with the people I love the most, like they're so human and imperfect that it makes me like them more, because I don't know, they just have texture, like they're more interesting, they're more relatable, they're like inspiring when they actually do achieve something. It's like, oh wow, they worked so hard for that. I don't know, like you don't always have to be so perfect. And I guess like just try your best anyway, like the time's gonna pass, just like do your best anyway. And then believe in yourself to the point of delusion. Some things I would say to myself, like if you don't try for yourself, who will? And believe if I work hard, if all my dreams will come true. And the opposite, like if I don't work hard, I don't even have a chance. And just say to myself, like remind myself of all that I've come through and been through. Like I've done a lot. I'm definitely capable of things. And I'm really good at asking for help when I need it. And to look at other people and say, like, if my friends or other people can do it, like I can too. Like I said, like most people are just normal people that just do things. I don't really know anybody that's perfect, but the hard work. And then I said the daily action would be like, especially when it comes to like the too tired to commit or be consistent, like I have to really make sure every day that I'm getting enough sleep, eating proper, keeping mindful of the workout, rest, balance. And then for like my mindset, just like filling up on positivity, like positive content. Make sure I wake up early so I can make the most of my time. And then having like really grounding practices like journaling, gratitude practice, breath work, meditation, just things that like fill up my soul with natural high feelings. And then also less screen time, because I think sometimes that makes me feel a little bit like lazy. I waste a lot of time on my phone.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's, I mean, all of those things are so powerful. Just like realizing that like you totally can achieve your goals, and like what will it take? Like how can you like take charge and like take action without being like, oh well, I'm not good enough, so I'm not even gonna try. Does that resonate with what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like continuing with that story of like, I feel lazy today. Like getting started is always the hardest part. It's not even
Right,
like
yeah.
work itself.
Totally. Yeah. And honestly, it's normal and human to be tired some days. And it's totally okay. And we're going to do a little bit of talking about being nice to ourselves, but in those moments when you feel tired, can you be super nice to yourself and then plan for when you're going to recommit to your training another time? How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Melissa. I love that. Yeah. And I want to read in the chat box. My mom said her daily action plan is to use the feet up 3 times. Does everybody know what a feet up is? Christine doesn't know what it is. It's basically an inversion tool where you put your shoulders on this like bench, and you can like do an inversion without having to put any weight on your head or your hands. Do this feet up 3 times. Melissa loves the feet up. 10-pound weights to strengthen the arms, belly to wall handstand. And Sarah said, stretch and practice handstands every day, connect with the people every day, and set daily goals. So I choose something purposeful every day. And Kirsten said, truthfully, I'm both refreshed and a bit wary. I think I've set some of these goals with similar language in the past. So the doubtful voice I'm trying to transform is the one saying, what's different now? Why will you succeed this time? And the thing I want to say to that, Kirsten, is that the mindset is a muscle that needs to flex. So it's like, just because like you tried and failed in the past, it doesn't mean that you can't continue to try. And it doesn't mean that you will not succeed if you try again. And I think it's about like continuing to stay committed to this, like flexing this mindset, rather than like flexing it once and then forgetting about it and then reverting back to your old habits and patterns and thought patterns, and thinking like, oh, I tried once, like, you know, I did core work once, so my core should be stronger now, right? Your mind works the same way, totally the same. So who is open to going a little bit deeper in terms of loving on our fear and transforming our fear? Who's open to doing that with me today? And what that means is I'm going to guide you through a meditation, but I just wanted to get a consensus for that being what you want. And I got a couple of hands raised. Love it. And if you are in Balance Academy, a couple of people who are here in Balance Academy, you are familiar with this meditation. It is the Badass Self Meditation. And the point of this meditation is to feel your fear and love on your fear. And so we're going to spend about 10 minutes in meditation, and I will guide you through it. And You are welcome to, if you'd rather lie down when you meditate, totally fine. If you'd like to have your eyes open or closed, also fine. If you'd like to sit up, great. Just make yourself comfortable. Who's ready to dive into some meditation with me? All right, awesome. So get comfortable in your seat, relax your shoulders. Feel free to close your eyes if you'd like, or just let your vision be soft. If you're lying down, go ahead and lie down. And first, just take a moment to soften your jaw, soften your tongue. Soften your forehead and your eyebrows.
Notice the pace of your breath. Notice if your breath is fast or slow. Notice if your breath is deep or shallow. You can hear yourself breathing, or maybe your breath is quiet. And let's take a breath together here for a moment. So go ahead and exhale, empty out your lungs. And take a nice, easy inhale. And exhale out of your mouth. And soften your jaw again. Relax your shoulders again. Soften your abdomen. And then no matter how you are sitting or laying down, flip your palms to face up. And then imagine that in your right hand is a 3-inch version of yourself. And this 3-inch tall version of yourself is your badass self. It's the empowered self that takes action on their goals. It's the empowered self that doesn't listen to self-limiting beliefs. And notice, what is that 3-inch version of yourself wearing? How are they standing or sitting? What's their posture? Maybe they're in a handstand, maybe not. And just get a really clear picture in your mind of what that 3-inch tall badass version of yourself is. Down to the colors, to the facial expression, the feeling of that person. And then in your left hand, there's a version of yourself that is fearful. It's your human, natural, fearful self. And in your left hand, notice, how are they sitting or standing? What is their posture like? What are they wearing? and get a really clear picture in your mind of what your fearful self looks like in your left palm. And then think about your badass self in your right hand, looking at your fearful self in your left hand. And what is a question that your badass self could ask your fearful self right now? And the question I like to ask my fearful self is, what do you need to feel safe? But your question might look a little different. And then think about a response from your fearful self. What response do they have to that question? And then thinking about the answer that your fearful self just gave, what is something that your badass self could do for your fearful self right now? What support can your badass self give your fearful self in this moment? What does that look like? And then let your two palms come together in your lap so that your badass self and your fearful self can unite. And what does their union look like? Do they hug? Do they hold hands? Do they sit next to one another? And get a clear picture of the union between your badass self and your fearful self. What does that look like? And then take both of your palms, one on top of the other, in front of your heart, on top of your heart, on your chest. And let's take 3 breaths all together, softening the jaw and the shoulders. Exhale, empty out your lungs. Take an easy inhale. Exhale out of your mouth. And 2 more breaths just like that, easy inhale. Exhale out of your mouth. And easy inhale. Exhale out of your mouth. And then relax your hands back into your lap. And take a few more easy breaths.
When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes, revisit your environment. And just take a moment to notice how you are feeling right now. And whenever you're ready, there's no rush. Feel free to share that feeling word in the chat box. Kirsten said connected. Sarah said less fearful. Melissa said inspired. Like that. And my mom said ongoing striving. And I'm curious if anybody would like to share out loud what that was like for you. Was it easy to talk to your fearful self? Were you nice to your fearful self? Were you hard on your fearful self? Was it difficult? Was it easy? I'd love to just get a little bit of insight into how that was for you. If you'd like to share.
Okay, I feel like I'm that person that keeps talking, but you said it's okay for us to do that. That's okay. I feel like I've done this kind of thing a few times before, so I feel like it's really easy for me. Like I know that for myself, like I'm envisioning her, what she's wearing, what she's sitting, all that, and so I feel like it is pretty easy to do that connection. And every time I do it, I'm like, well, I'm gonna do that more often. Because every time I do it, it feels really good. So I just think, well, where have you been? Why weren't you doing that? And so, yeah, it's just a good reminder of that it's possible and that it's doable.
Yeah, I missed that last part because my headphones disconnected. What was the second to last thing you said?
Oh, I think it was, I just think like, what, you know, where have you been? And like, whenever I do it, I think like, it just reminds me it's like pretty easy and helpful and possible. So I just don't know why I don't do it more often.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing too, where I feel that same way, where I will get stuck in my like old mindset and like self-limiting thoughts and self-limiting beliefs, and then I'm in a business coaching program, and they just like immediately they snap me back into the like the possibility and like confronting my fear. And there's something about like having somebody else remind you and having that like kind of community support, because it's really hard to do by yourself. Honestly, it really is. And I feel that all the time. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and Christine wrote in the chat box, I felt that my badass version was very strong and I was able to hold the hand of my fearful self, helping her out and empowering her. So I have that energy within me. Love that, Christine. And Sarah said it felt good. The question I asked was, why are you holding back? Yeah, love that question. And Melissa said, when you say, what was your fearful self wearing? I want to wear that every day now. Was it a cute outfit? I need to know what she was wearing. Awesome. Cool. So I want to move on to being nice to yourself. So this is something that is hugely important when, especially when stepping outside your comfort zone, because dreaming big is scary. And if we are like constantly hard on ourselves for not showing up in the way that we want to show up, or for not being achieving the things that you want to achieve, it's just not a nice environment in your head, right? Can everybody relate to times that you've kind of like treated yourself poorly when you're not like living up to your expectations, and how awful that feels? So I really like this quote by Louise Hay, and a couple of you that are here have probably heard me read this quote a handful of times already to you because I love it so much. She says, loving the self begins with never ever criticizing ourselves for anything. Criticism locks us into the very pattern we are trying to change. Understanding and being gentle with ourselves helps us to move out of it. Remember that you've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. So try approving of yourself and see what happens. So who's down to run the experiment of approving of yourself and seeing what happens? Yeah. I have been running this experiment over the last year, and I'm very happy with the results that I have gotten from being nice to myself. My life is so much better now that I'm nice to myself. It's so crazy how like this one thing is so powerful. And so I want to do yet another. This is our last journaling exercise. The questions are, in what ways do you play small? And what would it look like for you to dream bigger? So even in the vision that you created at the beginning, what if you could dream even bigger than that? What if you could play the big game in your life? What if you could create a new possibility that you didn't even think of an hour ago? And then what is the impact of you dreaming bigger? And what is the impact of you playing small? Who else does it impact when you play small and when you dream big? So let's take maybe 5 minutes or so to answer those questions. And another couple minutes. Who needs more time with this? Well, I would love to hear, what does it look like for you to dream bigger? And who else does it impact when you dream bigger? Who'd like to share? And I know that this is a small group, and thank you all for sharing so often. I know that in a bigger group, you don't necessarily, you're kind of off the hook of having to share as often. Who'd like to share? And this is a safe space. We won't judge you for sharing. And this is actually even a moment of noticing, like, why do I not want to share? Like, what am I afraid of? What, like, am I afraid of being judged? What, like, what, so what? Like, what is, what does that look like? Sarah, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I think for me, maybe being more accepting of my failures, but seeing that as a positive as well. Because, you know, like particularly with handstands, you know, if you're failing, but you're learning things from that each time you fall. You know, you're learning something about you know, where to put your body, etc. And also just staying focused.
Yeah, love it. And who else does that impact when you stay focused and when you embrace your failures?
Mainly my husband, I think.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of times when I've been in the gym and I've really got cross with myself and been in a real mood because I couldn't do it. He's saying, don't get so stressed, but you can't help it. You just sort of feel that, you know, anger at yourself.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, and so if you could transform that relationship to failure and actually like be like motivated by failure and see failure as like a positive, like what Kirsten was saying, then it would change your reaction to it for sure. Yeah, and then your husband wouldn't have to deal with you being angry at yourself. Totally. All right, who else would like to share?
I can share again.
Yeah, Melissa.
Oh, wait, did I just cut somebody else off?
Nope.
Okay. I think like financially, I really want to start investing more. And I think I play small in that way. Like, I know I'm smart, I could probably figure it out, but I think I don't know, maybe it's like just some conditioning that I've accepted or something. Like, it's kind of embarrassing to say this, but like maybe like, yeah, I'm just not gonna say it. But I don't know, I just think that I could figure it out. And if I just applied myself, like, so for me to dream bigger, it would be like applying myself to it and like actually taking the first step and trying to learn more, like a little bit every day. And who does it impact? My partner, my family, my future family, myself, my friends, my students. I think like if I felt more financially secure, I wouldn't even think twice to sign up for programs like this. Like, I'm really glad I did sign up for this one, but it was like Balance Academy, but it was like a decision that like took a lot of thinking, you know, because I was like, money, like I always feel like financially insecure, but I don't know. I feel like I could like empower myself in that way.
Yeah, like empower yourself to take action to set yourself up to be more financially sustainable or financially stable. Is that what you're going towards?
Yeah.
Really. Well, yeah, and that impacts your, you know, Matt, your boyfriend, and your family totally. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Melissa. And let's take one more share. What does it look like for you to dream bigger and who does that impact? Yeah, Christine.
Yeah, for me, actually, it's the same thing as Sarah. It's always impacting my husband because when I play small in my yoga practice and the poses that I can unlock or achieve, I feel so frustrated and gets into a really bad mood, and it really shows and it affects him as well. But whenever I try to dream bigger about the pose that I want to achieve and seeing myself achieving this pose and actually trying to achieve it or succeed, even 10% success, I feel so happy and like start jumping, with happiness and stuff like this. And it affects my life, affects my relationship with my husband. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's kind of similar to what Sarah was saying about like changing your relationship to what you would see as a failure, and like
Yep.
getting excited and dreaming bigger towards your goals of those poses. Yeah. Cool. So before we move on, we're kind of getting towards wrapping up here. But before we move on, I actually who agrees that if more people practice this mindset shift, the world would be a better place? Who feels that way? Yeah. So what I would love is if you have like a takeaway, like your biggest takeaway from this workshop today, I would love for you to take a couple of minutes to actually open up the Handstand Empowerment Facebook group and share your takeaway from this workshop today in the group right now, and maybe even encourage people to watch the replay, because I'm going to make the replay available. And if more people kind of take on this mindset, then the world could potentially be a better place, and more people could be empowered and work towards their goals and be happier. So if you don't already have easy access to, I just put the link to the Handstand Empowerment group in the chat. So you could just go click the chat, and then let's take a couple minutes to write your biggest takeaway from today in the Facebook group, so that we can inspire more people to do this. And feel free to give me a thumbs up once you've done it. Awesome. Thank you everyone for doing that. So most of you are here because you're probably feeling stuck on the wall and you aren't making progress, right? Maybe you're feeling tired of feeling weak and afraid, and maybe you're tired of being stuck in the same old thought patterns. Raise your hand if you're in that boat. Yeah, everybody. And you probably want the freedom to balance in the middle of the room, and you want ease in kicking up to a handstand and graceful landings, and you probably want courage and strength and the ability to trust yourself as you achieve your goals. Raise your hand if that's you. Are you open to me offering suggestions for where to go from here, of next steps that you can take to make progress towards these goals? Awesome. So I've got some events coming up. The one that's happening the most soon is 1 month from now. It's a 2-day off the wall immersion. It's going to be it's not the same as the off the wall training that we did as like a 5-day training. It's going to be a little bit different in that instead of being on StreamYard, it'll be on Zoom, and I'll be looking at your handstand and coaching you, and we'll be doing some of the continuing some of the mindset work that we did today. And that off the wall immersion is it's $150, but a special discount if you sign up for it today is I'll knock $50 off, and it'll be $100 for the 2 days of training if you sign up today. So a little incentive for you. And then the month after that, if this work is like exactly what you need, and you feel like this is like such a perfect fit for you, and you want to continue on this mindset journey of self-empowerment and embracing your fear and being nice to yourself, I also have a 6-month program called Balance Academy coming up in mid-July. So if you're interested in that, I want to make sure that everybody who takes that program is a really good fit for the program. So I'm not just going to like sign you up right away, but I would get on a call with you and talk to you about whether or not that's the perfect correct next step for you in your journey. And so if you think that Balance Academy is a good fit for you or a good next step for you, I would love to get on a call, and feel free to DM me the word balance, and I'd be happy to talk more about it. Who thinks that they're kind of like feeling the tug towards like a deeper dive, 6 months of coaching? And you don't have to commit to it right now, but if you're feeling the tug, I totally understand. And I also acknowledge that this is not necessarily for everyone, and I don't expect it to be for everyone. And that's actually, I think, what makes this program so unique, is that it's so specifically designed for a certain type of person that wants to make progress in their handstand and wants to have freedom in their handstand and wants to balance in the middle of the room, but is also really, really committed to making this mindset shift of self-empowerment and breaking out of your old thought patterns and learning to kind of like reconstruct your relationship to yourself through yoga and meditation and handstand work. So if you think that's for you, I'd be happy to talk more about it. And if you're not ready to commit to the whole 6-month journey yet, that's totally fine. So if you think that you are interested in the off the wall immersion, DM me off the wall right now so that I can get you in. And if you want to sign up today, you can get that $50 discount off of the off the wall immersion. And I'm capping it at 20 people, so it's not gonna like I will give time to coach every single person, so you'll get some individual feedback, and we'll be working towards your goals. And I'll be filling out a form so that I can make sure that the work that we do in that immersion is specifically what you need. So it's not just going to be like a cookie cutter immersion. It's going to be catering towards making progress towards your goals. And good question, Kristen. Let me check the hours for the off the wall. 1 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, whatever it's called. this Eastern time zone. And you all are actually the first to hear about it. I haven't announced this immersion yet, so you all are getting first pick at at this program, and you all are getting a special deal today for being the first ones to hear about it and for being here in this workshop today. And I really appreciate you all sharing your time with me so vulnerably and so bravely. And also, again, if you found this helpful, if you would be open to sharing about this workshop and also the Handstand Empowerment group on your personal Facebook wall and tagging the Handstand Empowerment group, that would mean so much to me. And word of mouth and testimonials go a long way. And I think that the world would be a better place if more people were thinking this way and spreading this expansive energy and working towards their goals and feeling great in their life. Would be so great if everybody felt that way, which is just sad that it's not the reality. So if you are open to doing that, I would very much appreciate it. And also, Melissa, if you're still listening, I'm curious. So Melissa is actually in Balance Academy right now, and she's been in Balance Academy since December. And Melissa, are you open to sharing a few words about what Balance Academy has been like for you and some of the results that you've gotten from it so far?
Yeah, I love Balance Academy. I found Lana during a time when I just lost my pet and I was really, really sad, and the pandemic isolation and all that. Like, also just feeling like wanting to level up my own personal practice. I really liked the sense of community that it offered, and like every week and all throughout the week checking in on our goals and our visions. And actually, since Balance Academy is coming to an end, I feel really sad. I'm really not looking forward to that. I'm gonna miss it a lot. It's been so nice to like just get, and me and my partner, my boyfriend, joined together, which was amazing to be able to like learn that kind of support for each other and like see what it would feel like to have a community that supports becoming our best self. And yeah, I'm really grateful for it. I feel like we've learned so much. Like it comes with the course content, comes with all these recordings of meditations that Lana recorded, and we listen to them every night before bed. And it just feels like so, I don't know, I definitely feel like a huge shift in so many different areas, like not just my handstand balance, but like just getting connected to what all your different goals are and visions, and being able to like stay connected to those goals and celebrating all of the little wins and even the failures. That's like a huge mindset shift that we've learned. And then yeah, there's so much content as far as like yoga and handstands, and I'm like, I feel like that content will last me for the rest of my life. Yeah. And it's good stuff. Lana obviously is really good at handstands. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. I love you.
Thank you for sharing that, Melissa. And I didn't ask Melissa to like come here and share a testimonial, by the way. That was like kind of impromptu. But thank you again, Melissa, so much for sharing. I'm so glad that you have had such a positive impact from the program. And yeah, Melissa is in the first Balance Academy group that I ever had, and we're in our second Balance Academy group, and then the one in July will be our third group of Balance Academy. And it's like this program is like my baby, and and I care so deeply about everybody that's in it. And yeah, so if you're interested in that, please reach out to me, and I would be more than happy, if this feels like it's the right next step for you, to be more than happy to support you in your journey. And with that, I am complete in our workshop today. And if there's anything that you would like to share in terms of like a takeaway or anything that you are bringing from this training into the rest of your life, or anything that you'd like to share before we wrap up. I would love to hear just a few parting words of the impact of this on you today.
Thank you so much, Len, about today. And it made me feel that I need to think differently about so many things, so many aspects in my life, to treat myself better, because I deserve to treat myself better in a nicer way. So yeah, thank you so much. It was like a refreshment session for myself. So yeah, I deeply appreciate this.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that. I think one of the things that I really love is that it's kind of what I said in the beginning of this. I mean, I love that you're explicitly talking about self-empowerment like in this space. When I started like acro and aerial stuff years ago, for me, it was like an immediate parallel. I could see all of the places that like everything that would hold me back in acro more than any other sport I've ever done directly related to where I was being like held back in other aspects of my life. And so I just love that I've like stumbled into finding you and your approach with like handstands, and you've provided so many tools, and even in that like the 2-week free thing online, so many tools that I haven't seen in other handstand classes. And I just also love the different spin on a lot of similar questions that I've had from other like self-empowerment kinds of stuff that you put here. I just loved it. So deeply, deeply grateful. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm so happy to hear that. And Sarah wrote in the comments, it's been really helpful to look at my own feelings and fears and what might be holding me back. I feel like I have a new focus and know how to move forward with my fears in handstand and some in life too. So amazing. Amazing. I feel so full and so grateful for you all. And this has been honestly such a joy to spend the afternoon with you all today. And this is the work that I absolutely love doing. And yeah, this is what fills me up, and this is what sparks my fire. And so I'm really, really happy to be here with you all. And yeah, so feel free, if you are open to sharing a testimonial on your wall about this workshop, about the Handstand Empowerment Group, and spread the word and get more people who are kind of like ready for this work into the group and exposed to this content. I would be more than grateful for that word of mouth. Yeah, if you want to get a discount on the Off the Wall training, sign up today and I'll get you in. Yeah, DM me #OffTheWall. Or if you're interested in getting on a call about Balance Academy, I can send you a link to book a call on my calendar. It's a free 60-minute conversation about your vision and to see if it's in alignment, if Balance Academy is in alignment with your vision. So yeah, thank you all so much for sharing your time with me today, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you all.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Thank you, Lena.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.